Paris was the capital of fashion for about 300 years. That didn't really begin to stop until fairly late in the 20th century. You started to have London and then New York and Milan begin to appear as alternative centers of fashion. But very often, the best designers from those places would end up showing their collections in Paris.
Before Charivari came, you had to go to Paris or Milan to get the higher-end clothing. The ready-to-wear didn't exist for the masses. It was completely inaccessible. You had to get on a plane.
The French do things a lot better. I'm sorry, but you compare what the French do with what the Brits do on any level. For presentation of fashion, they're so professional, so sophisticated.
Charivari bloomed because they had such foresight that they would find designers that were not in America and that nobody else had.
Charivari always had the ability to intuit what would be the next great first.
Especially when you're talking about the avant-garde clothing. I mean, it was non-existent in the United States until Barbara, until Selma, and until John went to Europe and discovered these people. They found the Yohji Yamamotos, they found the Jean-Paul Gaultiers, they found the Rei Kawakubo.
Barbara discovered my collection at the Salon du Prêt-à-Porter in Paris. She was the first one to suddenly discover the line. And one day I met John. He said to me, I would be interested in producing lines, menswear. I was very impressed because I always wanted to design for men. I'm kind of feminine and masculine designer. I don't make a big difference. I was absolutely sure that the men would wear my outfits, but even to go to the bank to work.
This line is really for a man who likes fashion, but who wants to be very elegant, but it's completely a new way of being elegant.
It's good when you start a collection and you're completely pure because you have never made it, so you're full of enthusiasm. I was absolutely dreaming at that time.
I first came as an 18-year-old in 1980 to visit New York. New York was just crawling out of the 70s of a lot of grime, but at the same time it started to bubble. I came back to Amsterdam and I said, as soon as I graduate from Fashion Academy, that's where I'm moving. And everyone said, why? You're nuts. And I said, that's going to be the city.
I think a retailer like Charivari could really bloom during the 80s because that was the decade in which fashion really was fashionable. And all kinds of extreme and individualistic fashion was fashionable. It was a really exciting time.
Of course, every small, medium, large-sized company in the world wanted to sell the Weisers. It's like today everybody wants to sell Barney's and Neiman's. I mean, there are key stores. They were it.
John and I had become very close friends at the end of the 80s when I had told him that I had plans of doing a knitwear collection. And John said to me, why don't we do this for Charivari and or wholesale it? As the collection was based on predominantly silk, and my name is Ray, he said Silk Rays.
People like Salma were able to put a light on artistic, interesting, more niche collections that you wouldn't have seen without them bringing it to the forefront.
In workshops back then, they had all these awesome designers, more like deconstructed designers, and Demille Meister, Magella.
Deconstructivism is a term that refers to taking things apart, to find out how they're made. Sometimes this involved making clothes that looked like they were unfinished.
When I think about it now, I still get so inspired by their visions and how they looked at women, that women could dress a certain way and express yourself in an intellectual, smart way.
I thought to myself, why don't you, put something together and approach Barbara? And at this point, I was like, oh my God, she's never going to say no, who am I, and blah, blah, blah.
Barbara would walk into a showroom and know exactly. It was like, yes, yes, no, 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 yes.
So I took the collection up there to the office shaking like a jelly, like, and she came and she liked them. basically 2 weeks after, my collection was selling in the store among my mentors, you know. I mean, those were like the highest point of my life, you know.
Lola went on, obviously, to leave Charivari and become a designer full on, but it was fun because Barbara really believed in her and loved her things.
Charivari made me to be who I am and to be able to be a designer.
I felt very welcomed in this family. I could see that they really appreciated my talent.
And this was kind of like the camaraderie that we had. It wasn't just a buyer or a merchant. We all took pride.
It is fashion history in New York as far as retail. And yeah, I'm really proud that I was a part of that group.
If I saw Selma Weiser today, I would just say thank you. Really thank you for giving so many people an opportunity.
I was in awe of them and everything they accomplished and everything that they knew.
I am who I am because of that store.